box.
Hey, yeah, that's a little platform just off screen. You can't see the other names, but they're there. They're just off screen.
That's funny.
Meryl, I'll donate that back to the cause, man.
Okay. You can trade with Missy Bass. How about that?
How about that?
Microphone is muted.
All right. So now you guys can come off mute. I'm so glad to have you here. And Felton, I'm gonna let you take it away. Glad to see you guys here tonight. I'm gonna send a couple reminders out to people so they can join us. But we're live on Facebook, and we're gonna have a wonderful conversation. And just glad to see you.
All right. Welcome everyone. As Meryl said, we are glad to have you here, and we're gonna have a special conversation with Ms. Tango Moore. She gave me her bio. It is pretty tremendous. So I'm gonna just cover a couple of broad strokes before she takes over the floor, and we have a good conversation. So she is the grants manager at the Reedsville Area Foundation. A little bit about her educational background. She is an alumni of UNC Chapel Hill, graduating in '94. She also attended North Carolina Central, my alumni, Ajane's alumni, and whoever else may have attended there. But she went to their law school, and she's made her way to many places, and now she's back in Reedsville, and she's doing good works at the Reedsville Area Foundation. With that being said, if you want to say a few words before I ask a question, you're more than welcome. But I think the way that I'm going to ask the question, the words you're going to say now probably will come up anyway. So how you feel?
Go for it.
We'll just start the ball rolling. So first and foremost, if you could, just continue on what I was just alluding to or mentioning, but tell us where you're from and where life is taking you.
Okay, well, I think most of us, when we think about that question, where we're from, the first thing that kind of comes to mind is a place. But for me, it's the people that I'm from, and my parents, Ann and Snuffy, Sharon, you know, that's where I'm from. My mama and daddy were teenage parents. They both are natives of Rockingham County. They were married at 17 years old, and by 20, they had 3 children. I'm proud to be one of those, the second. And they made me who I am. And sometimes we're really, really hard on younger people when they become parents. And you're like, but you don't know what you're doing, or you don't have the resources, you know, you're not financially stable. And that could be true, but it doesn't mean that they won't kill it. Like, they can still do a good job, especially when you have the support, when they have the support of other people, which could be their parents or other family members, or sometimes it's just a determination to do it together. And so, like I said, though, they made me, they are who I am, along with my grandparents. Like, the love that they gave me was enough, and is, like, it's enough. It gave me a confidence and a foundation that nothing and no one can ever take away. I miss them dearly. I lost them way too early in life. But they made me who I am. So they are where I'm from. But I grew up in Rockingham County. So this is home for me. And as Felton alluded to, it took me, life has taken me different places. So I grew up here. I went to elementary school in Wentworth and Madison. I was born in Eden, then went to elementary school, Madison and Wentworth, then went to, Rockingham County Senior High. And then from there went to Chapel Hill, UNC for undergrad, to Durham, to Central for law. From there, I ended up, knew I didn't want to practice law, but ended up in Memphis, Tennessee as a ghostwriter for my pastor. And from there, ended up in Charleston. My ex-husband is from Charleston. So from there, we moved to Atlanta. And then eventually, 20 years later, back home. So it's kind of a crazy, all over the place kind of thing. But I think it's really never mattered to me very much where I am. It matters to me who I'm with. So people are they're who ground me. And I can be anywhere with the right people. So that's kind of.
So a lot of who you are is bound up in who you know and who's been valuable to you in your life. So on your journey, could you tell us a little bit more about your professional track and how you got into philanthropy, which is what the Reedsville Area Foundation is all about?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when I went to law school, like the first day I was like, don't like this. And so the second day I went to my dean and I said, I would like to withdraw because this doesn't feel like it's what I want to do. And I kind of got guilt tripped. Like it was, you're in, there are so many people who didn't get the spot. And my thing was let them have it. So one more person can get in because they can have my spot. But, I was on scholarship, and when it wasn't enough to kind of try to make me feel personally obligated to be there, then he made it about my community and the impact that I could have on community and my responsibility to other people. And I was just like, God, I'll do it. It wasn't that I felt like I couldn't do it, but I knew right away that I didn't want to. And I think that that's something that can keep us out. Most everyone I talk to say, well, you were supposed to be there. I'm glad you were there. I still have never really gotten to the place where I really know that that was the right thing for me to do. I was there, and it's the only time that I can really remember distinctively going against my gut. And I don't like to do that. I don't like to go against who I am or how I am. But I did it. And maybe there's some reward later on. And maybe I've already received some reward. I know I've received some privilege from it. But that's not really what I wanted to do. So long story short, I didn't practice law. I actually had my first child my second year of law school. And so right after I finished my exams, she was born. You guys, some of you were on the line Saturday. So Deja was my firstborn. And boy, that changed my life. That was it. I was like, I'm a mama. Anything else, I can do or not do, doesn't really matter. Motherhood is the most important thing to me. It's my passion. It's the first prayer I ever remember praying was for children. And I got plenty of them. I think a lot of you probably know I have 7 kids. And a goddaughter who lives with me. And so glad to have her. But, when I saw that little girl, it was a wrap for me. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so I do appreciate the fact that my my ex-husband, he was able to, you know, carry our family for 17 years. I was able to just raise my children, and I really appreciated that. But as time went on, moved back to North Carolina. I lost both my parents within 2 years of, I lost my dad within months of returning here. And I moved to I never lived in Reidsville before, but I moved to Reidsville because he was here, and I wanted to be as close to him as possible. Had no idea that within 6 months, he'd be gone. But so we were kind of here. My mom, she had cancer at the time, and she was dying, and we knew that. My dad had been sick for so many years, but your dad, I mean, to me, my daddy was, my rock. And so even in his sickness, I never saw his weakness. And so he called me his dingbat anyway. So, even at Moses Cone in ICU, he's on a respirator, and the, waiting room is full of family. I just did not get that he was leaving. And, I'm like, yeah, he needs to be on the ventilator. He needs to rest. And, let the machine do the work for a while. All the stuff they tell you, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so even in his dying moments, I never, I mean, he was my dad, and he was, I just could not, I don't know, he kept that same authority to me. I had that same respect. I could never process the fact that it was time for me to step up. It just didn't happen. But the funniest thing is, because he was on a ventilator, he couldn't tell me. Like, I needed him to say, I'm leaving. And I don't know if any of you have lost your parents, but it's certain things that I'm the type person, I won't hear things from just anybody. And I really needed him to say that to me. But the funny thing, he couldn't. So when my mom was dying, she kept telling me, Tango, I promise you, I will tell you when I'm going to die, because I don't want you running around saying, Mama didn't tell me, the way you have said that for the last year about your daddy. And so actually, when she was, about 4 days before she died, I was in bed with her, and she looked at me and she was like, well, I'm croaking. And I'm like, what? And she was like, I'm croaking. And it was a beautiful moment because we laughed so hard. I'm like, that's how you gonna tell me you dying, Mama? You croaking. She did all this spiritual stuff with my sister, who's a pastor. She had me call my brother and, give him this long little comforting speech. And she told me she was croaking. But all that to say, I didn't really, I had my children, and I had my parents, I had my husband. I wasn't concerned about a profession. I had the people I wanted. And even though I didn't have everything, all the material things that I sometimes needed, or maybe I should say sometimes wanted, because actually looking back, I guess I did have the things I needed. But, career wasn't really a thing to me until I divorced my husband. Then I'm like, oh my God, I need some money. And so that's kind of how it came around. I didn't have my parents anymore. So there's no one to really lean on for that kind of financial support. And they had worked all their lives and would have done anything for me, but you know, they married early, they were high school dropouts, so they never made like lots of money to start with. So when I divorced my husband, I didn't know what I was going to do. And, you know, I was able to connect to resources. And I think it's really important that we all know how to do that. And, you know, I went to the housing authority, I went to social services, and I got food benefits, and until I could find work. And I started by substituting. No, actually, I started with a volunteer position. Like, I already had 7 kids. I'm absolutely broke, but I'm like, I want to help somebody. And so I started as a guardian ad litem. Because my passion is children. And so that way I could advocate for neglected and abused children. And it's like, there's no pay and there's no mileage. And, you know, it's another child that you feel really connected to and responsible for, but it's what I wanted to do. And I've always kind of, like I told you guys, kind of been a person who felt like I'm gonna do what I want to do in life, even if it doesn't look like it makes sense. It makes me, it's who I am. And so I did that. And actually that is how I reconnected to Jen Nixon, who later became my boss. But she had a foster child in her care at the time, and I was the little girl's guardian, and that's how we reconnected. And so I think volunteering, sometimes we think, I can't do anything unless it pays. And sometimes we miss connections with that mindset. I was broke, still had to figure out how to navigate life, but I wanted to give. And it actually ended up giving back to me and became part of the reason I'm in the position that I'm in now. So I started there. Some of you guys may remember after substituting, I went to Head Start, which in itself is a way of giving back to our community, because you know, there are a lot of Black and brown children enrolled in the program, and it's directed at low-income families. And the way I ended up in that position is because I needed to enroll my own child. So Kana Morgan, who's my baby girl, who's a part of NC 100 and NC Leap, you know, enrolling her, I had a caseworker, she was great. And she helped me get a job there. And so that it's all still kind of connecting to people and making sure that you make the most of those connections. And, you know, you don't know who'll be the next person to help you. So, you know, I like to pay attention to the people who are around me and give them a lot of credit for what they're able to do. Then from there, I actually had to leave work because I had a kid who decided he wasn't going to school anymore, and he just walked out. And but instead of trying to make him return, I needed to make him okay. I needed to support him. I needed to find out what was really going on. And I don't like to put people in situations that they don't want to be in. And so I maxed out my FMLA. And when they were like, oh, that's up. And I was like, well, you know, I am too, because he's not at a place where he needs to be anywhere but in my care. And so I think sometimes we have to make those kind of sacrifices, listen to our kids, and respect their needs. You know, it was crazy. I had a lot of pushback, even from family, about leaving a job when I didn't have resources. But you know, I hope and pray that I'll always put people before things. That's just kind of how I am. And so from there, I came home, and then Jen pops up again. Jen has kind of been a constant for me as far as professionally. But I was sitting there doing his homeschool, going through his work with him, and I get an email, and it was Jen Nixon, and she said, "Hey, the Education Foundation is looking for a part-time person. I thought about you." And this goes back to reconnecting, you know, just through a volunteer position. And so I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I applied and I got it. And so that's how I got in Reedsville Area Foundation's building. And Jenny, glad to see you on here, who's now the director of the Education Foundation. So I was in that position for a while, and you know, community is big to me. Education is big to me. One thing when I came on with the Education Foundation, the first thing I had to say was, all of my kids aren't in public school, and I know that's what we support, but I support education, period. And I support what my children need. And I can't back down or change that for a position. And so, you know, Marilyn Payne was the director at the time. And, you know, I made that very clear off the bat. And I think that's one of the things that no matter where we work, I think, you know, be honest and open about what matters to you. Go in the door that way. And, you know, if there are standards, keep them. You know, if there are things that don't feel right to you, or if there are things that, you know, just need to be expressed, I would say do it up front instead of, you know, letting things come out as it may, or maybe trying to change the person that you are to fit the position. I'm really blessed in the fact that there's been a lot of flexibility around all of my jobs, because all of them have allowed me to keep my family first, and trusted me to do the work after caring for my family. So I appreciate that. And so, you know, after that, the position came open at Reedsville Area Foundation. And now I'm the grants manager there for the last 3.5 years. And I was so attracted to that position because it allowed me to do for community what I do for my own family. It allowed me to nurture more than just my 7 children, but to do that on a broad scale around education and healthcare and community development. And that is my absolute favorite part of the job, is just being able to connect to people and help direct resources, millions of dollars, to areas of need in our community.
So you kind of said it, but if you could just like square that off, what exactly you do, and share with us your thoughts about the highs and lows of philanthropic work.
Yeah, so I am, like I said, I'm the grants manager at Reedsville Area Foundation. Some of that is kind of technical. Jenny and Meryl know I'm like, okay, need that progress report, need the final report. I help you guys through your application process. I come and do site visits and check-ins and see how you are. One of my favorite things, I try to connect you to other resources outside of Reedsville Area Foundation, to other funders and, you know, partners, to kind of grow your capacity And so, yeah, that's what I do. Basically, just try to figure out any ways that we can, our organization as a whole, to help Rockingham County residents thrive. Uh, so that's what we do. Um, did you ask about the challenge? What did you
Oh
ask?
yeah, the highs and lows.
The
What's
highs
the
and lows.
highs and lows?
Oh,
What's bad?
so some of the highs, I work with really, really good people. Like our staff is small, but our staff is mighty. And in our building, there's such a feel of there's just a welcomeness that's there, a warmth um, with our tenants, two of who are on the phone. And I've done a lot of work. You know, I see Sharon and Portia in a whole lot of meetings, and Yvette and Angelica. I don't know if Angelica's on here, but she's NC 100 intern for the second year. And so I'm able to connect with you guys in really meaningful ways. And so that matters a lot to me. So that's one of the highlights of, you know, the people that I'm around constantly, most regularly. You know, they're very supportive. You know, we have very interconnected missions. We are aiming at, you know, just making Rockingham County a better place. And so that's always nice. Some of the lows, I guess, especially right now during COVID-19, is the fact that there's not enough. I mean, we give about close to $2 million a year to organizations, nonprofits, our public institutions. A lot of that money goes to our schools and municipalities, but it's never enough to meet all the needs. And so there has to be a process to decide where that money goes. And, you know, probably about 6 years ago, we moved away from human services to try to go upstream and work on transforming structures and systems. And that's key and really important. But then when you have something like COVID-19, this pandemic to hit, you have to refocus and you have to meet immediate needs. So food and shelter became really, really big. And so now I'm having an opportunity to work with other organizations that do direct services and provide those essential needs. So it's a little bit different right now, but I guess the low is that as much as we give, we still can't do it all.
Absolutely, that's understandable. I mean, you know, we live under circumstances that require people to have need, but it's just wonderful that organizations like yours exist to help where they can. At this time, I want anybody that's got any questions. You can type them in the side, or you can unmute yourself and ask them. I'm going to have one final question with Tango right now, but if you have something you'd like to ask or share, please feel free. To really kind of crystallize this moment, I know equity is important to you. I know that from prior discussions and meetings with Merrill, equity is important. I think everybody on this Zoom call. Can you talk a little bit about your work with equity and racial equity, to be precise? And like I said, everybody come up with some questions if you have them, and feel free to share them out. Go ahead, Tango.
Yeah, I'm really proud of, so our former director, Jen Nixon, invested a lot of time and energy and was very supported by our board and other organizations with making space for racial equity to be a part of our work. And I have to say that the Partnership for Children had a big hand and lead in that work as well. And so realizing that we all don't have the same need or start at the same place, and recognizing that, you know, the need to give what's required. I saw something recently that compared equity to affirmative action. Um, I kind of take um, that really doesn't fully express it for me, because I think it's reparative action. So it's corrective action is a better way of saying it for me, because once you have denied a person something, um, it's it's not affirming for you to replace it. It is reparations for you to replace it. It's right. It's the correct action for you to replace that. And so I feel that's what equity is. And like I said, our board is, they've been very supportive in the work that we do. And we recently funded a grant for the second racial equity learning community retreat, which a lot of you guys were there, and I appreciate that. A lot of you are members, and I would like to invite anybody on the call to become a part of the racial equity learning community. It's about 20 people. We are from different sectors. We're throughout the county, different races. I would love to see more Latinx members, Asian. We do have quite a few Black and white members. Not quite as many Black men as, I would like to see present. But, if anybody is interested in joining us, you could get that information from me or Merrill, or Portia. and we'd love to have you to be a part of that. But yeah, we're gonna keep at it. I can't say that it happens quickly. Equity work can be really hard and frustrating, and very personal, especially when you are a Black person trying to do the work. It can be a little bit overwhelming at times, but it's always worth it. And I've been really, really sad this week with all the injustices that have happened. First, the Central Park incident, and then the Minnesota incident, and for another Black man to be dead because of police brutality. It all stems back to racism, and wanting to do whatever I can to make it not just better for me, but because I have these 7 children that I absolutely adore. I want the world to be better for them. And when I wake up to, my child crying because of the news, it's a hard day. And as she's writing the news, she's crying over the news. And my 13-year-old, oh my God, he's not 13, he's 14. But my 14-year-old yesterday announced that he didn't want children. And when I asked why, he was like, he doesn't know how to keep them safe. You don't know what's going to happen to them. And so I think all of this has a real impact on, our psyche and even our decisions, our life decisions. So equity is huge.
Absolutely. Well, I commend you and others for that work. I did attend that session with Portia and Merrill also. Yeah, this is a conversation we don't have enough.
Are you
And we
talking?
need to have more. I'm sorry, go ahead, Merrill.
I'm just saying I'm sharing the
Oh,
the
okay.
while you're talking the Rockingham County
Thank
Racial.
you.
This is kind of like how we're set up. You can keep on talking. I just want people to see kind of
Yeah,
what we're all
yeah.
about.
I'm glad you did that. So there's our mission, and basically, it's just or our vision is to advance racial equity. And equity, we know that it comes in different forms, and there's gender equity, and but we want to make sure that we have a real focus and keep a focus on racial equity. You can't really take race off the page, because it's so much is rooted in um, addressing, acknowledging um, that this has been systemic and hurtful, you know, all of American history. It's been present, so let's acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's very important and critical. I think critical to us being what we think we are as a nation or what we say we are as a nation. So absolutely, I commend you for that work. Please refer to the chat side of the screen if you haven't already. There's some good information over there. And also, I just posted if you guys have any feedback you'd like to give or any ideas for how you want these sessions to look at some point, contributions are more than welcome. We definitely want to know what's on your mind, which brings us closer to wrapping up. But as stated, if you have questions, feel free to share them. If you have thoughts about the social ills of this nation that have reared their ugly head again in the last few weeks, please, this is a place to discuss them. It's a safe place. Nobody's here to judge. I am a history guy, a historian. Ajane is someone that was in my cohort at Central, and she's about to embark in a PhD program. It is
As
critical.
well, Felton, a history person. No, you are a PhD student in history. Do not let that
Exactly.
go unnoticed. Yes.
I appreciate the backing me up because she knows what it's like to go through that experience at the MA level, and she's about to find out the the PhD experience. But yes, history is critically important to engaging in these topics because it is a fact that you repeat yourself if you don't learn from the past. So it is very important, in my opinion, that in these spaces we discuss what's on our minds and what we've experienced in life so that we know better how to go forward. So at this point in time, if there's any questions, any thoughts, please share. Other than that, I'll be happy to turn it back over to Meryl and we can begin to wrap up. But I've enjoyed this. I'm glad that you guys participated and showed up. It's a beautiful thing. I think we need more of this. And I look forward to doing it in person at some point also. Yeah, the Zoom thing is nice under these circumstances, but I look forward to COVID getting on out of here. To you, Meryl.
Oh, I'll leave it up to folks here on the meeting. So, is there anybody that has any feedback or questions or anything to share?
I actually have some feedback. Um, so I think that what you all are doing in the racial equity group is so paramount, and not just for people in the Rockingham. Is that what it is? Is it Rockingham? I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, I'm like, hold
Yeah.
on, let me get myself together. Okay, in the Rockingham community, it's paramount because part of the experience that I've had as a young Black teacher teaching American history. And I'm sure that I'm talking to a bunch of folks that are educators or educate in one form or another. So I know y'all can feel me. I just wanted to add that it is so important that you all make sure that Black teachers are looped in, that y'all are listening to what is needed from like Black teachers as well, because it is so rough out there. Like, I don't necessarily know the demographics or anything like that of Rockingham County. However, I do know that what's happening there in this group is, again, is paramount. And I think If you all want me to share any of this information with any of the teachers here in Durham County, I am willing to do that. I think groups like this, they have to be protected and they have to be talked about. And just speaking on it historically, when public schools, we will say desegregated because we're not really integrated, right? But when public schools in North Carolina desegregated, one thing that happened was that the Black Teacher Union got dissolved. And what people said was essentially, oh, y'all can just go and join the white teacher union, which naturally we know is not going to happen because we were not very welcome. And so I just want to let you all know that from a school system perspective, like both university, high school, and middle, this is so important. And I'm just so thankful for what y'all are doing. So I wanted to say thank you. Please keep going. No matter where I am in this world, if you all need anything, if y'all just need, I don't know, funds, if y'all need anything, just give me a call. Bless y'all.
Ajane, you have a question in the chat. Are you aware of any groups that are organizing or meeting regularly to connect Black teachers?
So here's what I'll say. I'm aware of some unofficial ones because let me just keep it real with y'all. And real with you, Miss Edwards. At the end of the day, Black teachers and brown teachers all congregate. If you Asian, you in somebody's room. Like if you're a part of the Latinx community, you're in someone else's room that looks like you. And it's that, Lord, what are we gonna do? Like that's the conversation that's being had. So informally, I think that looks very personalized to every single school. However, we sort of have the same phenomenon. So I know that the Durham Association of Educators is very racially mixed. So they're doing a pretty good job with that. But as far as Black teachers on the books, like a group, I'm not very familiar with any of those. I haven't heard anything. Yeah. So I can't. Unfortunately, right? Like that's why we're having this conversation because this is so this is unfortunate, right? Yeah.
And just to give you a little peek behind the curtain, I live in Wake County and worked in Durham for a very long time. So the one thing that Durham County has that Rockingham County, while we really need the equity learning community, is that there is an Office of Equity and Inclusion with Durham schools, right?
Yes.
Which could not happen in Rockingham County currently as things are situated. I mean, so you're right. There's these informal groupings of folks, and sometimes it's very difficult for the teachers in this county to, be out and open about some of those challenges for those things you're just kind of talking about because, the demographics here in this county are about 78% of the population is white, and then maybe they have 16% that's identifies as Black, and then a little bit of Latinx. And there's a big growing community of undocumented folks here in the county, but it's the political climate here is tough. So it's challenging. One thing I wanted to say about Tango that, I'm sure a lot of you who do know her, she is an advocate and she amplifies community voice. I know that the stuff that we're doing in NC 100 would not be at the place that it is without your, support and connection. You connected me and Felton. There's like
I did do that.
You did do that, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Right. So this is a challenging county for equity. It really is, and so we're and it's good, and we have a really pretty core group of folks that are dedicated. That some of them look like us, and some of them, look like Jenny. And we need more advocates and allies to be alongside. So it's just a difficult place.
Yeah, this is really a very deep and definitely requiring more of time conversation. And I'm all for it. We can make this a topic of conversation for the next few of these Thursday night meetings, and hopefully we'll get another swath of people in to give us a little bit more varied feedback. But I did want to mention Deja in her speaking Saturday mention, and we talked about the importance of networking. You allude to it tremendously, Tango, but I like your take in terms of relationship building. And I think that's pretty much the way you look at this. Is it's important to maintain relationships, not for the purposes of some great gains, but just because having good people around you is that important. And I that's what I take away from what you shared. Portia, I'll say for you, the all roads lead back to Reedsville. That's one of that's one of her favorite things. And
Told you that was 5 years ago.
Hey, that's the older I get, the more it seems to be proven. So yeah, absolutely. So thank y'all so much though.
Oh, okay, two things really quickly. I wanted to, I see Ms. Barbara and Mama D there. I want them to, I would hope they could come off mic. I want them to, so I was so blessed to be part of and I know we're running over, but I was so blessed a couple weekends ago to be part of a tribute to Cynthia Brown. And I would love to see if you guys would just say a couple words. I would love to have a topic and talk a little bit about after some of the work in her legacy. She has a book out. She passed away in 2016. I don't know if you guys want to share just a couple things, and then I would love to have something larger. But I just wanted to, just as far as advocacy for folks that don't know about Cynthia. Let me get y'all off mute. There we go.
So, and Meryl, thank you for joining us. There was a launch of Cynthia's book. Portia, I don't know if you got the information or not.
Yeah, my copy's on the way.
Okay, there was a launch of, Cynthia is our niece. She was our oldest niece. And she's a social justice activist. And she was a Bennett graduate. And she was a graduate of UNCG for a master's degree. And she lived and breathed social activism and helping others, particularly youth, and others that were not well represented. And we miss her dearly. She was still alive in 2016, as Meryl said. And she has a book, From Cynthia with Love, that it was pretty profound, a pretty profound book. Meryl, I don't know if you got a chance to order or look at the book, but you did hear us do readings from the book.
Amazing.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to mention it.
Sure, and I hope, and I got a couple copies coming, so I can't wait to get it. And I would love for us to do another session like that. I think more people need to know about some of some of her work, and just know there's people from Rockingham County who've done these really great things.
That's right, and there's also we have copies of the video.
Oh, okay.
That we are able to share.
We can replay that. So, all right, well, we got you past time. Tango, thanks again for joining us. Felton, thanks for organizing this. While I got you guys here together, one more thing I just want to make sure get out there. As far if there are people that that are going through and having symptoms with COVID-19, whether they are insured or not, you can get pretty quick free testing at the James Austin Health Center in Eden. They are really trying to get the word out. I'm hoping that down the road that we'll be able to put together some type of marketing campaign and get people comfortable with the test. I know there's historical reasons not to trust healthcare and information that you get, but we're trying to figure out ways to make sure people are healthy and get tested. There's CARES Act money to make sure people get taken care of. So if you know anybody who is struggling and is fearful of getting the test because they don't have insurance or just are fearful of the whole process, let them know about the health center there, or just you can direct them to NC100. We can get information. So we're trying to do some work on there, and then we'll just have so many of these sessions, and it'll be shaped by the community. We want to have this adult time, and then we also want to encourage our children on Saturdays to get together and ask questions. And Janae, you'll be joining us this coming Saturday in our virtual session. So I'm just so happy that we are building community and just doing some real great stuff together. So that's enough of me rambling.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. Y'all have a
All
good
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is
Right.
good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for
thank
joining.
you.
And who won the prizes again? I know.
I think
Not me.
I know who didn't.
Next time we will do this again. Make sure you got your phone together. You've been reading up and just getting your pop trivia together. We have what was it again? $50. So $50 on the line if you win the game. $50 first prize, 25, 10 for the other folks. And we're gonna continue to do this. And maybe one of these days we'll probably have a series where you get a bunch of points, and then after a month we'll win something real big. You know?
Yeah. That
As long
makes
as Felton doesn't win again.
Yeah.
So I didn't win technically. I forfeited. So you're gonna have to figure out who
You
came
can
in
swap
fourth
with-
there.
with-
Yeah, you're gonna have to figure out who came in fourth so you can bump them up. So bump
Oh,
everybody.
okay.
Right.
And Barbara, Miss D, if you can invite your nieces and nephews to come join us on Saturday.
Okay, Portia, make sure you send us the information. You know how we do it.
Okay.
And if I may, since we know we have some I want parents, your nieces and nephews, but we have anybody online that's interacting with the kids that'll be in attendance on Saturday. Please encourage them to come up with a few questions for a teacher, especially if they're middle schoolers. Portia, I know that may not apply as much to the Achievers, but especially if they're middle schoolers, come up with a few questions for a high school teacher, because Ajane teaches high school, and that'll give them a good idea of what they're getting ready to embark on. So
Yep. Every kid is welcome. They don't have to be part of our NC 100 Leap cohort.
Uh-huh.
You know, we have about 15 kids who are part of our cohort. Miss Portia's got how many? Yeah, like 16, 17 high
Yeah,
schoolers in your
16
group.
achievers that are part of what we're doing. So we're coming together to try to make this work. We're
Yeah,
doing a
so
great
we got
job.
our kids, we got our cohort, but anybody is welcome because it's virtual. If they live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just it doesn't
Join
matter.
us.
Yeah, they can join us.
Mhm.
And we do the same thing. We have the prizes, we do the trivia, try to teach them a little bit with the trivia, and then we have amazing people like Miss Willis is going to be joining us. And last week we had Tango and Deja, so we're going to try to, we want it to be interesting to them, but we want them to participate and be thoughtful, because it really does start with our young folks.
Mhm.
Systemically, we got to be building the future, putting them on these paths to either go work for somebody or have people work for them. Preferably the latter. So,
well said. Well
you know
said.
what I'm saying? So,
Well said.
all right. All right.
Thank you.
Right, you all
Thank
have,
you
take care.
all.
Have a good night.
Thanks again.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Tango. Thank you, Ajane. Thanks, Portia. Y'all
Thank
take
you
care.
all. I
Bye-bye.
appreciate you all. Thank you, Miss Moore. I
Take care.
appreciate your words.
You're very welcome.
Have
a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.
Bye.